you can't consume your way out of a better planet. And it was a few years in to the brand story when we grew beyond being able to just buy shirts from a local blank distributor, print our graphics, and then sell them. We were beginning to do our own cut and sew in our own factories. And I decided, now that we're taking this big step, we should do our due diligence and make sure that our factory is one that we're proud of, that we have full transparency into how they operate, and that we know the language behind manufacturing and behind how to ask to do it the right way and how to find somebody to do it the right way. So um, it was a challenge, and we're hyper aware that just being here, we're part of the problem as a consumer brand, even as we're trying to be part of the solution. So really, our focus is on using our platform to really spark something bigger.
I'm Meg Carney, an outdoor and environmental journalist, and this is the Outdoor Minimalist podcast. Thank you for joining us so that together we can create a better outdoor space as we recreate. We can't shop our way out of climate change, and we definitely can't rely on capitalism to save the planet. But what happens when a brand tries to flip that script? In the outdoor industry, we've seen a rising trend. Companies weaving sustainability and advocacy into their marketing. But are those efforts genuine, or just another version of greenwashed consumerism? And can a brand really center advocacy over product and still survive? To explore this topic from a brand's perspective, in episode 192 of the Outdoor Minimalist podcast, we are talking with Matt Moreau. Matt is the founder and CEO of the Landmark Project, an outdoor lifestyle brand known for its art-forward designs, sustainable apparel, and advocacy for public lands. Under Matt's leadership, the Landmark Project has grown from a small garage-based print shop into a nationally recognized brand sold in retail stores and national parks across the U.S. Passionate about connecting people with the outdoors, Matt has shaped the company's mission around celebrating and protecting natural spaces through thoughtful design, meaningful partnerships, and a commitment to conservation. So thank you so much for joining me on the Outdoor Minimalist podcast today. I have heard a lot about the Landmark Project and got to meet some of your PR representatives at a trade show earlier this year, which was really cool. That was like my first experience being exposed to you guys, which I don't know why. But to jump into the conversation, I'm going to ask my classic question, which I haven't been able to ask very many people lately because we've been talking so much about policy, is how you got interested in outdoor recreation and how it fits into your life now.
Oh man, so I'd have to dig pretty deep. I remember being growing up in the Chicago area, and of course, before smartphones, before social media, and the forest preserves and the trails around my house. It was flat as it can be, a lot different than where I live now, but it truly is where I think I developed an early on appreciation for being outside. And it's thanks to parents who encouraged me to kind of play outside until the sun went down, and um, then come in and do my homework. So it was a really rich childhood of kind of making my own play. And then as I grew up, went to college, I found myself roommates with a person who was from Montana, and he was super into rock climbing and introduced me to the sport in North Carolina. And I think that's what really kind of cemented my love for the outdoors, just finding a way to challenge myself, try new things, see what I'm capable of. Went on my first backpacking trip shortly after college, and the rest is history. I never saw myself being employed in the outdoor industry, but I really love it. I think it's meaningful, and I'm glad to be able to be so close to something that I truly care about.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love when like your passion for something can kind of like lead you to your career. And it does kind of seem like that's something that happened for you.
Mhm.
So if you want to give a brief introduction and history of what the Landmark Project is, that would be a great lead into our topic about advocacy.
Yeah, Landmark Project is a garage-grown brand. We started as, a screen print shop in our house, one press, just a kind of a one-man show, making graphics for the places that I like to hike, the places I like to go, just so that I could kind of scratch that itch of doing art for art's sake, for the things that I really enjoyed. And it grew into what it is today, which is about 40 employees. We're nationally distributed. We're in over 1,000 independent retailers across the US and dozens of national park stores. And it's really our artwork that resonated most with people from very early on. Just kind of since I was an art student, I just wanted to take that study and really devote it towards my passion, which was being outside. So trying to tell the story of what makes the national parks special in really compelling illustrations, and then putting them on t-shirts, and started giving them to friends, giving them to family members, and what grew into then local retailers. And then in 2016, we were looking at what we could do for the centennial of the National Park Service, and we decided, like, let's go ahead and design our first set of national park designs. So coming up on 10 years from that decision, it's a big milestone for us. The first trade show we ever went to, but it's neat to look back on kind of how far we've come in that time since we made our first small state park in South Carolina to parks all across the US.
Yeah, the art on your apparel is amazing. So everyone should check it out if they have a chance to just browse. And since this is a topic around building a brand, but kind of like a different approach to building a brand. So if it is possible to build a brand around advocacy instead of the product itself. So for you, when you were creating the Landmark project, it kind of seemed like an organic journey. It was just kind of like things kind of fell into place and added up, and that's how you came to be. But was it more so a mission driven decision to try and like get your art out there, or is it to sell merchandise?
So honestly, our first thought was to make merch, because we did not set out to build a brand. We set out to do something cool on the side. It was our side project, and that's kind of how we got the name, the Landmark Project, because we were trying to do something else, and we were going the conventional route of making T-shirts for schools and camps and restaurants and kind of the businesses in our local area, which we still do. But when we got burned out on that, we decided, let's just make some things that we want to wear, that we'd enjoy having. And it was when, as screen printers, we kind of realized, like, oh, there's something here. We've tapped into a community mindset where people are really celebrating these places that we love. And once we saw people resonating with it, we really realized we had a bigger opportunity. And that's when we decided, if we're going to do this, if we're going to build a brand off of this side project, let's make sure it stands for something. And so, whereas the product came first, the mission kind of became the reason to keep it going.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And the question that you knew was coming, everyone listening, is that you can't capitalism your way out of environmental issues or protection of parks or anything like that. And it seems like that mission definitely aligns for you,
Hmm. Hmm.
but you're still creating a product. So,
Hmm.
how do you kind of balance that? And can you just unpack that general thought process? How does the Landmark project navigate the tension that exists between that?
Yeah, it's a hard truth, because it occurred to me a few years in that, whereas we care about sustainability, the most sustainable thing that we can do is to not exist, right? It's kind of along the line of, the most environmentally friendly shirt that you have is the one that's already in your closet. And maybe it's, instead of saying you can't capitalism your way out of environmental issues, it might be better to say, like, you can't consume your way out of a better planet. And it was a few years in to the brand story when we grew beyond being able to just buy shirts from a local blank distributor, print our graphics, and then sell them. We were beginning to do our own cut and sew in our own factories. And I decided, now that we're taking this big step, we should do our due diligence and make sure that our factory is one that we're proud of, that we have full transparency into how they operate, and that we know the language behind manufacturing and behind how to ask to do it the right way and how to find somebody to do it the right way. So it was a challenge, and we we're hyper aware that just being here, we're part of the problem as a consumer brand, even as we're trying to be part of the solution. So really our focus is on using our platform to really spark something bigger. I'm super proud of the way we make our shirts and the materials we use to make our shirts. We work really hard to be as sustainable as possible in our manufacturing and our supply chain. But when I say we want to spark something bigger, it really comes down to, can we use our platform, our brand, to start conversations, to build community, and to take action that extends beyond the sale of the product. And it's a little bit more intangible and it's hard to measure. But if we're going to keep making things, we need to make that matter. We need to make the subject matter of the products that we sell and our own brand initiatives and the things we do outside of the product to encourage other people to kind of take up the flag with us. And that way it's bigger than ourselves. It's really bigger than what we can do on our own.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's unpack that a little bit because it's more than just like the art and the imagery that is advocating for these places, right? You have a pretty robust structure in terms of how you donate your time, as well as your money that you receive from the sale of these products. So, do you just want to talk a little bit about the funding structure and why you donate to who you donate and how it all
Mm-hmm.
works?
Yeah, so the easiest thing to do is to write a check at the end of the day. And we certainly, we do that. We do that part because in the end, nonprofits need money. Public lands need somebody to help fund some of these important projects, the materials that are needed. I mean, I'm thinking of an activation that we did where we helped build a wheelchair accessible trail in a state forest. And somebody donated the lumber. We were there to donate the time. We had to, help buy materials and tools and bring a community together. Every single activation that we do to give back is a little bit different. There is a bit of a misconception that brands like us will, if you buy a shirt that has Arches National Park on it, that we give a portion of that sale to Arches National Park. And there might be truth to that with other brands, and that's great. It's challenging for a company of our size. We're pretty small, and the administrative burden of kind of keeping all those lines straight, like who gets what, all the parks, can be a little bit overwhelming. And as you know, it can be really hard to work federally on a federal level with the government to try to get dollars to the places that need them. So the way we've chosen to give back, well, I'll answer the question financially first, is to partner with non-government orgs, NGOs that are located in adjacent to the places that we want to see work done. Or in our case, also, we work really closely with national groups, national nonprofits that are focused on awareness issues around like real important topics like wildfire preservation or wildfire education around like how responsible backcountry practices, and leave no trace is another really good example of that. So, whereas it might be difficult working directly with parks and with the government, the NGOs are, I mean, they have a really consistent North Star. They have deep expertise and real boots on the ground insight into what is the actual need, what is the highest importance of what they need for a specific place. And they're nimble, they're focused, and they know exactly how to stretch every single dollar. So for us, it's really rewarding to be able to come alongside them, and they say we have this project that we believe in, we have this messaging that we want to get out there. How can we work together to accomplish that? And so, in to a certain degree, we can help. We can write a check. We can help fund the project, but to another degree, and this wouldn't be possible, or this wouldn't be as possible working directly with the parks. We can show up. We can put the gloves on, put the boots on, bring a shovel, and work alongside these people whose life work is to make public lands better. So it's, for us in South Carolina, we actually don't have major national parks nearby. So we do have a river that flows right through our downtown, and we have a state park 5 minutes up the road from us. And there's conservancy groups and friend groups that are associated with those parks that we can have an impact in our local community, and we can demonstrate to other people in our community the joy and education that you get from being able to work with these local nonprofits. And our dollars go so much farther to a small entity that has a $30,000 annual budget than it would be if you were to give it to the big pool of money that supports the National Park Service. So I also don't want to imply that the National Park Service don't need funding or attention or money. It's such a big part of our story, and we still work directly with the parks because a lot of the NGO and friends groups have partnerships with the parks. So every story is a little bit different, but for the most part, we try to find, where is our dollar going to go the farthest? Where is our labor going to be appreciated the most? Where it's needed the most? And sometimes it's just about, like, what do we believe in? Is there a cause that needs a little bit of a marketing boost or a little bit of a microphone? We're a small brand, but we do have some reach that we can help by bringing awareness to a need or an issue. And those are really rewarding on both the local level and kind of the nonprofit level, where we can serve our partners that we've been working with for 3-4 years now.
Yeah, I think that is really interesting that, I mean, the advocacy is like multi-tiered kind of, because you're able to like contribute to a marketing campaign, whereas they maybe wouldn't have had the budget for something like that as well. And then you also get to give money back to them. And to your point about giving money to the federal government for the national parks, like the way that a lot of people are feeling right now because of what we witnessed this year is that you don't really know where that money is going. And if the national park staff is being laid off regularly and
Mm-hmm.
they're understaffed, all of these things, like, of course, they need support, but oftentimes that support is coming from NGOs that you are supporting, where volunteers can
Mm-hmm.
go in and then support those public spaces. So I think that that is great. Is there any like particular campaign that you've run during your time at the Landmark Project or with the Landmark Project that you felt like was particularly impactful to you?
What I've really enjoyed is working with the National Forest Foundation. They, they have so much land that they care for. And it's very easy, and this is something I've learned just from working with them, but it's very easy when you're daydreaming a trip that you want to go on, when you create a checklist of all the places you want to see in your lifetime, to think of these national park moments, right? And since the pandemic, the national parks have seen more and more pressure from visitors all over the world, not just in America, and less support, that it's starting to feel like we're due to give them some relief. And not to disparage the grandeur and the reason why these places are national parks, but just outside the park boundaries, there is national forest land that is cherished and treasured and equally impressive, and kind of in the shadows. It's not really championed among the influencers. It's not the top of everybody's list. And to a certain degree, I'm actually grateful for that because it keeps those places pristine. But it also, as being in the shadows, they don't get the same amount of advocacy and attention from people who want to support them. And when we first started working with the National Forest Foundation, I think 4 or 5 years ago, they've been one of our first key partners, and still going strong. They have a week out of the year that they call Forest Week. It's now called National Forest Week, and they use that week to really rally community through social media and through other means to bring attention to the importance that the national forests and the other public lands, if you will, play in our society, not just for the ecological diversity, but for recreation. And that includes hiking, climbing, hunting and fishing, overlanding. There's so many acres that are not national park status, but easily could be, if like that are equally as stunning in some ways. And it's been neat to join them in their effort to bring awareness to these other public lands that are available, not only to spread out the impact that is on the national parks right now, but to also bring awareness to the same level of needs that these lands have, and even less the resources for the forests and the national forests and grasslands, I mean, are less and more spread out. So being part of their campaign, joining them on activations, I mean, fixing trails alongside them, it's been really fun. We've got a whole collection on our site that is created just for them to help tell their story. And that, for me, when you ask what's the most rewarding, coming kind of back full circle to the artwork process of using artwork to kind of advocate for, tell the story of, and help lift up these special places, these public lands. That is really, truly something that I'm incredibly proud of, just to see how our partnership has kind of blossomed over the years, and how I personally have learned so much about all the other things, all the other special places that are available to us. That team has just been such great partners that I couldn't be happier with that one.
Yeah, that one is big. I'm glad that you highlighted that because, like you said, so many people use the national forest, but we aren't like talking about them as actively
Mm-hmm.
as
Mm-hmm.
some of the other places that we use. And because you brought us back to art, I do want to talk a little bit about art as an advocacy tool and how it can be used, like why it's impactful, like coming from you as an artist, like why is it that art continuously like carries on and tells such a like accessible story?
Right. Some people like to ask me what my favorite designs are, and I should also mention this because it might not be clear, but I'm the primary artist for the brand. So a lot of the artwork is mine, and I'm an artist owner, an artist founder. I'm an artist first. I like to call myself a reluctant business owner, honestly, because I didn't go to school for that. I went to school for art and design, and um, I like to answer the question when people ask, like, what's the favorite piece of art you've done? and what would you consider your best? It's the ones where I actually went to the park. There's something intangible about being there and experiencing a park, whether you're standing at tunnel view looking over the wide landscape of Yosemite Valley. You can't get that feeling, you can't get that understanding of a place without being there. And even today, when you're like, oh, I've got all these resources, I have Google Images and I have Pinterest and I have um, artificial intelligence, I have all these things that can tell me what it's like to be there. There's nothing that replaces actually being there. And that really informs the artwork process. And I'm frequently reminded that some of the earliest advocates for conservation predated some of mass travel out west, and it was people like Ansel Adams who took photography of the parks, and people like Thomas Moran who painted the Tetons as a way of communicating like these places are so special, we have to preserve them, it's imperative that we take care of them. And the only way they can convince Congress, the only way that they can spread their message is by the proof is in look at the art. And I find it more challenging than ever when we are in a world of instant gratification of clip art and AI and automatically generated things where you have triangle mountains and artwork that doesn't look like or feel like the place. But when you can get it right, it really does resonate with people. And I hate to keep coming back to Yosemite, but it's one of my favorite parks. And we worked with Royal Robbins, the brand, once to kind of help tell the story of Royal and his influence on climbing and use graphics to kind of tell that story. And I remember being in Yosemite thinking about Half Dome, and you could spend the whole week in that park and Half Dome is always towering above you. But you don't get tired of seeing it. And as you're driving away, headed to the Fresno airport, you will still pull over the car to take a look. Even though you've been in Yosemite all week, you want that last look. You want that lasting, like you want that one more time to see how magnificent that landmark is. And that was what I wanted to communicate in a graphic. The idea of Royal Robbins was to make a lasting impression on clean climbing and climbing culture in America. And I couldn't think of a better icon than Yosemite's Half Dome, because to me, that leaves a lasting, just looking at Half Dome leaves a lasting impression on me and makes me think about going back there all the time. So when it comes down to like, why does our brand still believe in art as the best vehicle to make people care about the parks? It does amazing when it's done right. I mean, it not only recalls that feeling of looking at Half Dome for the first time or for the last time in a while when you're on your way out, but it challenges the imagination. Like if you've never been to Delicate Arch, if you've never seen Old Faithful, like seeing it in artwork from an artist's point of view who's been there and experienced it and captured it at just the right moment, you can't help but to want to go there and to see it in person as well. And when you do that, you realize how special it is. And hopefully that's now something that you care about and you want to take care of. So that's the romantic answer to the question. But really, truly, like, I think it really sets our brand apart. And I want people, when they see our products, whether it's a t-shirt or a poster or something else that we make, I really wanted people to have that feeling when they see it. And when it's compared to just the brand name on a shirt, or like I joked about triangle or clip art mountains that don't belong, that makes our brand stand out. And I think that from very early on, when we made our very first state park shirt, that was the philosophy. If we're going to make artwork, art for the parks, one of our internal slogans, let's actually make it look like the park. Let's tell the real story. Let's make you feel like you're there when you see it.
Oh, I love that. That is interesting. It's always fun to hear from artists and kind of like what inspires them. And I think oftentimes in like the conservation space, it's tied to place and like how we
Mhm.
identify with a place. And I love that you're able to communicate that to such a wide audience. So I guess if we're kind of zooming out then as you're with your brand as a whole, um, you passed $1 million in donations since 2018, which is a huge accomplishment, especially for a smaller brand. Um, and so if you're looking ahead, how do you plan, or do you plan to grow, or do you want to expand, or what is kind of your vision moving forward? Do you want to continue this journey at the level you are, or do you plan to like push on and grow?
Yeah, I mean, we of course want to grow. Growth is exciting, it's exhilarating, and I found that I love being an employer. I get to work with people who share my values and who love the outdoors. We get to do fun things and go places and take pictures. And growth means more of that. Growth means more revenue, and growth means we can take better care of the people who are around us. But it's tricky. It comes with additional pressure, right? It has more overhead, and the markets change, and consumers' values change, and there's a risk with growth that like you'll be under that pressure, be pressured to change along with that. And I understand that, and we're aware of it. It's amazing to me that we grew from one person to 40 in 10 years, from a garage to a 20,000 square foot facility, and every day I still feel like we're such a small brand. Like I own the company with my wife. We get to work together. We are in two separate roles. So sometimes we come to work, we don't see each other during the day. And it's funny to know, to think about that, but it makes it feel small. And certainly we don't want to be too big, but really want to preserve our values. We want to preserve the idea of being intentional about the products that we create and being consistent about how we give back and how we support people. I think one of the ways we kind of guarantee that for the future is so much of our give back is tied directly to the product lines. So the product lines are created in collaboration with certain companies. So we have a Leave No Trace product line that's created with permission and in collaboration with Leave No Trace to kind of help tell their story. We have the National Forest Foundation products. We have Smoky Bear, we have Woodsy Owl, and those all have their respective give back channels that we support. And with kind of having those in place, it keeps us accountable. If you buy this tea, this is how much that goes to that cause. It's simple, it's transparent. It's really hard to walk away from that. Some of these relationships we've had in place for 5, 6 years, and the people that we founded these relationships with, they're close friends now. So as we grow, I think it's very unlikely that we would grow apart from them because they're at this point they're part of our story. They're part of our DNA. And one of the things we're most proud of is not the revenue at the end of the day. It's not the product line. Products come and go. It really is the lasting impact that we have, being able to point back and say, we built that wheelchair accessible trail, or we were in that meadow in Yosemite 3 years ago planting goldenrod, and now it's mature and it's taken over. That is so rewarding, much so than we went from 40 to 50 people, you know?
Yes. Yes, I do know. So, I guess for my final question then, because it keeps coming back to kind of like your value system and what's important to you as an individual, but then also the identity of your brand and building that mission-driven company. If you were talking to someone who either already has a brand of some in some capacity or is planning on building one, what do you think would be like the biggest lesson that you've learned throughout your journey as a business owner? Even though I know that's not your
Yeah.
favorite title.
No, no, Meg, thank you. That's a good recall to what I said earlier. But seriously, it's funny, like truly we took it a day at a time. And we didn't start by giving back, which I would love to tell people to do that. But realistically, that's not always how it starts. You do have to make money in the early days, you have to sell something. Um, and I recall thinking like, how in the world are we going to give up 10% of our revenue? Like when you look at your books, you're like, that's not possible, right? Like we couldn't give 10% of this and still come out okay. Um, so I think there's a couple ways I would answer this, but one is to be okay trying it and starting small. You don't have to just like become the brand you think you need to be, whether there's social pressures telling you that, or whether you're getting that impression from me. Anything is better than nothing, even if it's not giving up, even if it's not writing a check, even just getting out there, bringing your community together. Again, it's really what we tried to do in the beginning, is build a community around um, wanting to get involved in projects in your local parks, and encouraging people like, look, this is fun. We are having so much fun. We're sweating, we're dirty. But at the end of the day, you have that really great sense of accomplishment and the joy that comes with it. You learn something new, and showing people that did you know you could do that in your park? I think that was one of our most recent reels. And um, then start giving back a little. Pick somebody that means something to you personally. Because if they don't mean something to you personally, it's so easy to drop it. And if you start saying, you know what, I'm just gonna make sure that I'm gonna give back 1%, 5%, whatever it is, anything, to support something that I believe in, that's a great way to start. But just like pick that North Star, just let it guide your decisions. You can grow on it, you can build on it. And then if you're a small company or if you're just getting started, um, as you build your team, make sure that those team members care about the same thing you do, because like your business is going to grow, right? And you're going to hit ceilings, and you're going to face challenges, and there'll be bumps along the way, and things will get tough. But if everybody on your team shares your values and they have that same North Star that you do, like they're going to do whatever they can to preserve that part of your culture. And you won't feel alone trying to stand up for it. I'm so grateful for the leadership team at the Landmark Project, for our managers, for all of our employees who raise their hand when we say, hey, who wants to do a river cleanup on a Saturday in our hometown? It's so cool to see people come together for that. And, it's just a few hours on a Saturday morning. They bring their spouses, they bring their kids. We all hang out afterwards and grab lunch. It's one of my favorite days of the year. And that's something that over, day of time, you can build that kind of culture. And I would really encourage you to focus on that.
I love that. Yeah, you built that community. That's amazing. So you've done a lot of amazing things over the last decade or so that you have been in business with the Landmark Project. And it'll be really exciting to see like the campaigns that continue to come up because there's so much possibility for you guys. And so if people do want to learn more, check out your art and apparel and maybe give back to some of these NGOs as well. What is the best way to do that?
We're pretty consistent with email, so go to our website, join our email list, follow us on social media. We're telling people right now about what we just finished in the Rocky Mountains, which was removing invasive species out of one of the meadows in the park. We're about to launch our fall collection, and there's some really cool products in there that are new for us. And we'll be talking, getting closer and closer to the holidays. We'll be talking about kind of recapping what we were able to accomplish as a brand as far as our give back in 2025. So lots of neat things coming. We do also, through our email list, those are our closest followers, and we do, anytime there is an opportunity in an area to join us on a volunteer day, we send out a kind of a geofenced email to that area and say, hey, we're going to be in Denver, we're going to be in Lake Tahoe. If you have a free moment, would like to join us, come get some swag, come carry buckets of dirt with us. And so that's a good way to just stay in the know. We have more fun on our social media. You'll see some of our personality come through. So if you want to follow us there as well, you'll get to see kind of what life is like behind the scenes. But I just encourage you to just follow along. We're a growing brand. We're still figuring things out as we go, but we're proud of where we started, humble beginnings, and where we've gotten so far, but I think the best is yet to come.
Thanks for listening. And if you like what you hear, let me know. Leave a review and be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. You can find us on Instagram at outdoor.minimalist.book, on YouTube, or subscribe to our weekly newsletter at theoutdoorminimalist.com. For even more updates, other educational resources, and to help build an outdoor community with the shared goal to create a better outdoor space as we recreate.